I've been a dumb artist before.
Papers left and right without even reading the fine print. He trusted the wrong people, and by the time the smoke cleared, the doors were already slammed shut. When he finally realized what was going on, it was too late. The setup was locked in, and the trap was real. This is the story of Offset, Wack100, and a pile of money that someone clearly isn't being real about. We're talking about a mix of shady contracts, fake loyalty, and the music industry's sneakiest moves all coming together in one wild situation. Before jumping straight into the Offset and Wack100 mess, there's something huge about the rap game that most people never catch, and missing it can ruin everything. The business side of this world is cold, like deep freezer cold. Offset knows that better than most, a man who's fought through the grind, made it out, and learned the hard way who to trust. People see rappers flashing jewelry, cars, and designer fits, thinking it's all money and fun, but that's just a highlight reel. Off camera, the truth is way rougher, and it hits like a punch to the chest. Labels and managers stay plotting like chess masters, while artists play checkers without realizing they're being moved across the board. Every day, young rappers get blinded by hunger and dreams, signing deals that chain them down for years. When Offset spoke on Club Shay, he didn't hold back for a second. He broke it down raw, talking about how new artists get lured into business traps that haunt them long after the fame fades. So listen up, because this is where the real game gets exposed, and everyone watching needs to know exactly what kind of player Offset really is. What Offset said right here sets the tone for everything that follows. No shortcuts, no sugarcoating, just the raw, unfiltered truth. He's breaking down exactly how the music game really works when the cameras are off and the doors are closed. And that right there explains why people instantly assumed there'd be tension with Wack100 as soon as this story started making noise. For years, Wack's name has been tied to some serious claims. People saying he's been using the same type of slick business moves that big record labels have been pulling forever, just wrapped in a different package. You see the pattern, right? What Offset said is the key to understanding how deep this whole finesse goes. The album drops, the streams go crazy, and the label pockets 2 to 3 million, sometimes more. They make back the advance money, the artist is still somehow in debt because every flight, every hotel, every little studio snack gets charged right back to their account. That's the trap, and it's been running since the Motown days all the way to now. This whole setup connects straight to Wack100 and why so many people were quick to believe the talk about him finessing artists. Wack's been in the game for decades, managing big names and staying tight in the West Coast scene. He's plugged in everywhere. Everybody knows him and he knows everybody. But when it comes to contracts and business, people keep questioning how clean those deals really are. According to DJ academics and multiple insiders, those concerns haven't faded at all. They resurface every time Wack's name pops up in a new story. And when people heard that he allegedly signed Blueface to a deal taking a shocking 70% of his total earnings, 70%, that just made the whispers even louder. How does something like that even go down? Here's how the setup played out. Allegedly, Wack put himself in 2 power seats at once, running both sides of the table like a pro hustler. On one hand, he's the label, reportedly scooping up a massive 50% of everything Blueface brings in. Then, on the other hand, he's also the manager, supposedly stacking another 20% right on top of that. That's not just business, that's a full-on money loop. DJ Academics didn't hold back either. He straight up called it double dipping. And honestly, that's the perfect way to describe it, because when someone's playing both roles like that, the artist barely has a chance to breathe before their earnings are gone.
You threatened to expose some information about Offset involving some of the drama with Cardi B.
Who?
You.
Oh, I kept the exposure from happening. You know, I got phone calls from people outside of us.
That right there is a straight-up conflict of interest. No debate about it. When the same person is making business deals for the artist while also cashing out from those very same deals, who's really protecting the artist's best interests? The answer's obvious. Nobody. And that's exactly what things between Offset and Wack100 start heating up for real. But this time, it's not just about contracts or paperwork, it gets way more personal. Here's the part most people don't realize. The real tension between them has roots that go deep, involving people close to both sides. See, Wack100 has known Cardi B for years, long before she ever linked up with Offset. Their relationship goes way back, and Wack has always shown her nothing but love and respect. So when Offset and Cardi's drama started exploding all over social media, dragging in gossip pages and entertainment blogs, Wack found himself caught right in the middle of that storm, even if he didn't ask to be there. Suddenly, he was pulled into their mess, and from that point on, everything started spiraling into chaos. Now here's where things really turn wild. Wack100 admitted on camera that he had information that could have seriously damaged Offset's reputation, stuff that could have wrecked his public image completely. But instead of exposing it, Wack made a deliberate choice to keep it locked away. That wasn't just random, it was intentional, and it had everything to do with the bond he's had with Cardi B for years. His decision to hold that info back came straight from respect, not fear, not pressure, just loyalty to someone he's known before the fame and headlines. But before he played it cool, Wack had already gone off publicly on Offset. He took to his Instagram story and called him directly, writing "Lil Weird ANCO," throwing shade right out in the open for the whole world to see. That one post lit up the internet and made everyone wonder what was really going on behind the scenes.
What did Blueface do?
Wack fired back with a post saying, "I told you,
I don't know if it was text messages,
emotional
pictures,
stuff."
I don't know what it was,
Just
right?
like that,
Of
the temperature shot
Offset
straight through the
and
roof.
Rock.
Things went
Rashawn,
from tense
around,
to explosive
right?
in seconds.
I wake up to
But
it.
this is where it
I
gets
guess it's
even
on
messier
Twitter
and
somewhere.
way more
I don't be on
complicated than
Twitter. I
people
don't know.
realized at
My
the time.
phone's going crazy.
Blueface,
right?
Wack's
It's
own
Offset.
artist, and
He's
someone
telling
he
me
personally
the only
managed,
thing I'm hearing is
dropped a bomb that shook the internet.
I called Blueface.
He made a
Hey, man,
wild claim that Offset had hooked up with Croissant Rock while still married to Cardi B. That allegation spread like wildfire, especially since Blueface and Croissant were already making headlines with their own drama. The timing couldn't have been worse. It turned a messy situation into a full-blown scandal. Offset was furious. He picked up the phone and went straight to Wack, demanding that he get control of his artist and shut everything down immediately. Offset believed that Wack was the one pulling the strings, that he had given Blueface the green light to air out Offset's private life for clout. But Wack100 stood firm, claiming he had nothing to do with it. According to him, by the time he even found out about the accusations, it was already spreading all over the internet. Blueface was allegedly acting on his own, moving however he wanted, making his own calls, not checking in with his manager at all. That part is crucial, but here's the twist that caught everyone off guard. Wack100 was actually ready to back away completely and let Blueface expose everything he said he knew about Offset. Wack was done, tired of being blamed, fed up with people accusing him of plotting something he swears he never planned, approved, or even knew about in the first place. Then came the game-changing moment. One phone call flipped the whole situation upside down. Cardi B herself personally reached out to Wack100 and made her stance crystal clear. She told him,
"What is going on with 42 Dugg and you?" He clapped back. You said Offset ran his pockets in the studio.
That's not what I said.
What'd you say?
I said, you tried to leave the dice game. Offset wasn't going for it. He went outside. He was walking.
Cardi told him straight up, "We already separated. This really ain't my situation anymore, and I don't want to be pulled into it still." She said it calm but firm. She didn't want any more drama connected to her name.
Tapping pockets is like, I'm gonna rob you, but it's like metaphorically, I'm like figuring out if you have anything to steal.
42 Dugg had a bunch of money in both of his pockets. You know, he got skinny jeans on, so both down his pockets. Offset didn't take too kind to him walking away from the dice game when it was Offset dice. He was hitting 20,000.
So you can't just walk away from the dice game? No. That's a violation.
Out of respect for their long-standing friendship, she asked Wack to keep everything contained, not to let the chaos spiral any further. And Wack listened. He agreed to back off completely. And just like that, the tension between Offset, Cardi, and Wack started cooling down fast. Everything de-escalated quietly, not from threats, not from beef, but because Cardi B stepped in like a real one and asked for peace. That single call shifted the whole energy, and the situation went from chaos to calm. But here's the thing. That whole episode wasn't even the part that had everyone buzzing nonstop. It was something much deeper, an incident that's been told, retold, denied, confirmed, and debated on every podcast and hip-hop page across the internet. We're talking about the infamous Dice game. Yeah, the one between Offset and 42 Dugg that allegedly went down at QC Studios back in 2019. That moment became the center of endless rumors and street chatter. And guess who was right there that night? Wack100 himself. He's been the loudest voice retelling what happened, breaking it down in interviews and podcasts like he saw it unfold firsthand. According to Wack, here's how that night went down, the exact moment when everything flipped. But before people twisted, Wack made something very clear. He never said Offset robbed 42 Dugg or took his money. That was never his story. What he said was that Offset checked Dugg for trying to dip out of the game early, right when it was Offset's turn to roll, and Offset was on a winning streak. So let's rewind and line up the timeline so nothing gets twisted. It was 2019, the very last night of Lil Baby's tour stop in Atlanta. The city was lit, energy through the roof. Wack had brought Blueface out that night for one purpose only, to lock in a studio session with Offset. What started as a simple link-up for business ended up turning into one of the most talked about moments in rap circles, the night that still has people debating what really went down. That was the whole reason they were even at QC Studios that night. Wack had hit up P, the boss of quality control, asking him to open the studio so they could get a session locked in and keep things moving. But before the music even started, the vibe shifted and everything took a wild turn. Now, for anyone who doesn't really know how dice games go down, this isn't just some friendly hangout. In street culture, a dice game is serious business. When someone's on a hot streak, rolling clean and stacking wins, you don't just scoop up your cash and walk off. That's straight up disrespect, not just to the shooter, but to the whole table. There's a code to it, simple and unspoken. You stay until the game's done. No shortcuts, no funny business. And according to Wack's account, that's exactly where things got heated. Wack says Offset followed 42 Dugg outside after the game took a turn, noticing the cash bulging out of Dugg's tight jeans pocket. And then, boom, Offset allegedly reached toward it, and when Dugg turned around, Offset hit him clean in the face. One sharp punch that instantly changed the whole mood of the night. Wack just stood there for a second, counting in his head, 1,000, 1,000, waiting to see if there'd be any kind of reaction, but nothing. According to Wack, 42 Dugg didn't swing back, didn't yell, didn't even move. That silence right there had everyone confused. But what happened next flipped the entire story upside down. A few days later, 42 Dugg jumped on Instagram Live, calling Wack a liar and saying the whole story was fake. The internet went crazy. Fans didn't know who to believe. Then Wack made his own move, and it shocked everyone. He pulled out direct messages from Offset himself, and in those messages, Offset allegedly confirmed Wack's version of what went down, even while Dugg was live denying that anything ever happened. That moment had social media losing its mind. Receipts, lies, and mixed stories flying everywhere.
Studios, that gate don't open on motion. You gotta open from inside the building. Offset jumps up and trails behind him. I come behind him. I got a few of the schoolyards with me because we on tour. Offset walks right up and Dugg's walking away from him, grabs his left pocket. Some money bulging out of it. He didn't take the money out of his pocket, right? I don't know if he was attempting to take it or he was just trying to turn him around or what it was. Nevertheless, Dugg ends up turning around. When he turned around, Offset filed.
In the face.
Right in the face.
Offset messaged Wack asking, why Dugg lying? And that single DM flipped the entire situation on his head. It looked like Offset was backing up Wack's version of that wild night, straight up co-signing the story everyone had been debating. That message hit hard because it completely clashed with what 42 Dugg had been saying publicly. But Dugg wasn't letting that version of events fly, not for a second. He hopped right back on Instagram Live, doubling down and telling a whole different story. He stood firm, putting his entire reputation on the line to defend his name. And when 42 Dugg swore on his mother's life that he was telling the truth, that hit deep. In street culture, that kind of oath isn't said lightly. That means he was dead serious. Dugg said clearly that he didn't lose a single dollar. Nobody took anything from him. Nobody robbed him, and he walked away with all his cash and jewelry still on him. Saying that live for the whole world to see was bold, especially when everyone was already watching the situation spiral. But he didn't stop there.
So Offset says, nah, Unc is right. I gotta respect what he's saying. They go back in the building. I tell him, open the motherfucking, that's from Offset. See the date. Scroll down.
Wednesday.
That's Dugg doing his rant. What the fuck did Offset say to me?
Why this N-word lying? Oh.
See, one thing about Wack, I got the content. I recited everything that happened.
42 Dugg started hinting that something serious went down afterward, some kind of retaliation that allegedly happened after that night. That's when things got real tense. You could feel the weight of his words, because when someone says something like that publicly, it's not just talk, it's a warning. Even DJ Academic stepped in at that point, saying the whole situation was starting to look shaky, and this was coming from someone who's known and worked with Wack for years. Academics admitted that he couldn't fully verify every part of Wack's story anymore, and that added a whole new layer of confusion to the drama. People online started connecting dots that might not have even been there, linking the dice game, the business drama, and the behind-the-scenes tension to something way bigger. Rumors started flying that all of this chaos somehow tied into the Migos split, fans claiming there was a hidden connection between the street politics, personal beefs, and money moves. But Offset wasn't having it. He finally decided to step in and clear the air himself. He shut all that talk down and spoke directly on what really caused the breakup and what happened after. When Offset finally sat down to speak on everything, he didn't dodge a single thing. In 2023, when Keke Palmer asked him point blank about Migos breaking apart, Offset kept it raw and straight from the heart. No deflecting, no sugarcoating, no scripted media talk, just his truth unfiltered. Later on the Breakfast Club morning show, the host broke it down piece by piece, analyzing how Offset finally cleared the air after years of rumors and speculation, and he didn't hold back. Offset revealed that certain business figures had been moving in the shadows, purposely creating tension and division inside the group to keep control. That revelation hit hard and made fans look at the entire Migos story in a completely new way. That statement connected everything from the beginning of his journey to all the chaos that followed. Offset made it clear that the industry isn't built for unity, it's built to keep artists separate and dependent, easy to manipulate and harder to fight back when the contracts start turning unfair. The structure is designed to divide, not empower. And Offset saw that pattern play out in real time, not just in the business world, but within his own circle. One of the most emotional moments came when Offset opened up about the loss of Takeoff, something he had barely spoken about before. You could hear the pain in his voice. It wasn't for the cameras, it was real grief. He talked about how that tragedy broke him in ways he never imagined, how he carried guilt in silence for months, never sharing that weight with anyone until his heartfelt conversation with Keke Palmer. That moment reminded everyone watching that behind the fame, money, and rumors, Offset is still human, still healing, still processing, and still trying to make peace with everything he's lived through. That moment hit deep. You could feel the pain in every word Offset spoke. It wasn't just another interview answer. It was him unpacking real guilt that's been sitting heavy on his chest. He admitted that part of him wonders if things would have turned out differently that night, if maybe, just maybe, Takeoff would still be here had he not stepped away to focus on his solo career. Offset explained how tight the group used to move when they were together, how every move, every appearance, every studio session had a certain rhythm to it. He said he was always the one who could read the room, the one who knew when it was time to dip before things went left. Hearing him reflect on that hit hard because it showed just how much he still carries that loss.
To make that call. And that truth has clearly stayed heavy on his heart ever since. On top of that guilt he already carried, Offset had to face the chaos of the internet where people who barely knew the story started throwing out wild assumptions. Strangers online were pushing rumors that he and Takeoff weren't even on good terms before Takeoff's passing, and hearing that only cut deeper. Those false stories added more pain to an already heartbreaking situation. You could tell that behind the fame and confidence, Offset was still wrestling with loss, frustration, and the weight of what people said about him. Now that everything's out in the open, from the shady business deals Offset faced early on, to the tension involving Cardi B, Blueface, and Wack100, to the dice game story and the Migos breakup, it all connects. Every piece of drama people once thought was separate actually ties back into one long, twisted story of loyalty, business, and survival in the industry. And here's where it all comes full circle. That dice game everyone kept talking about, Wack100 actually showed direct messages from Offset himself. Messages that backed up Wack's version of what happened that night with 42 Dugg. Through it all, one truth stood out. Offset was never actually beefing with Wack over that situation. In fact, he was co-signing what Wack said about how that night went down. That detail matters because it clears up a lot of the confusion people ran with online for years. But before wrapping everything up, Offset shared something powerful. Something that cuts through all the noise. Despite everything he's been through, the business traps, the public drama, the personal loss, and the endless rumors, he still believes in hip-hop and everything it represents. He still sees himself as part of the culture that raised him, even after it tested him harder than most could handle. That mindset shows exactly who Offset is, a man who's faced pressure, betrayal, and heartbreak, but still came out sharper and stronger. He's still active, still evolving, still stacking wins, and still learning from every lesson. In business, in life, and in legacy. That kind of growth doesn't just happen overnight. It's built from experience, pain, and lessons that hit hard. Every loss, every betrayal, and every hard truth pushed Offset to level up and become who he is now. At the end of the day, that resilience is the heart of this entire story. It's about surviving the game and still standing tall. We just broke down everything. Offset's raw words about those predatory record deals, Wack100's detailed version of the dice game, 42 Dugg's fiery denial, the Cardi B situation that brought real tension, and the truth behind the Migos' split. Every detail connects, every angle matters, and now the full picture's finally clear. Now it's your turn to sound off. Drop a comment below and let everyone know who you believe in this situation. Was Wack100 keeping it real, or was 42 Dugg right to call him out? And do you think the music industry is still running the same shady plays Offset warned about from his early days? If you made it this far, show some love. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this breakdown with your crew. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss another wild story like this. We're just getting started, and the next one's gonna be even crazier.